In section 4.1, we want to work on writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. And remember, naturally, then we need to know what slope-intercept form is, and that is y is equal to m, which is the slope, times x plus b, which is the y-intercept. So b is the intercept, and m is the slope. And it's a very useful form for us to work with, partly because it's so easy to graph and it's easy to see what's going on with the equation by examining the slope and the intercept. So our key vocabulary: slope-intercept form, y-intercept, which is of course where our graph crosses the y-axis, and our slope, which is the change in the rise divided by the change in the run. Or you could think of this as vertical change divided by horizontal change. Okay, so it's an expression of how does our line change? How steep is it? How quickly does it rise or fall? So if we take a look at this is the simplest type of problem you might have. They've supplied me with the slope. They've supplied me with the y-intercept. So I take slope-intercept form, and I simply put these parts in. The slope was 3/4, so it goes in place of m. And the y-intercept is -6. And when I simplify, I'll get y is equal to 3/4 x minus 6. Okay, if I want to look at this with 2 points, this is a little more complicated because I don't know the slope, and I don't immediately necessarily know the y-intercept. Okay, but I do know that I can calculate the slope, and it's the change in y divided by the change in x. So if I go ahead and call this, let's go ahead and call this x2, and that's y2, and this is x1 and y1. Then what I'll have is I'll have -24 minus 0 divided by 0 minus -6. So this will be -24, and the denominator, the opposite of -6 is 6, and when I simplify this will be -4. So my slope is -4. Now if you just really quickly think of sketching this, I'll have -6,0 is over here and -24,0 is over here. -24,0 is on the y-axis. This is my y-intercept. All right, and now that I know that my y-intercept is -24, my slope is -4, I can write y is equal to -4 times x minus 24, which is the same as plus -24. Okay, and in this case, they've given me two different ordered pairs again, and they're saying that the function of 0 is -2, which means that when x was 0, y was -2, and by the way, when x is 0, I'm hitting the y-axis, so that means this is the y-intercept. And I also know that when x is 4, y was -3. Okay, so this is another way of writing this information here, right? It's that when x was 0, y was -2. When x was 4, y was -3. Now I need to find the slope. So I'll have -3 minus -2 over 4 minus 0. -3 minus -2, that's the same as -3 plus 2, is -1 over 4, so -1/4. And now if I write my equation, y is -1/4 x plus -2 or -2. Okay, looking at this in a word problem. When a quantity y changes at a constant rate with respect to quantity x, that would be another way of saying when I have a linear relationship between x and y, you can use the equation y is equal to mx plus b to model the relationship. Okay, we got that. The value of m is a constant rate of change, and the value of b is the initial or starting value for y. Right, so again, if we're relating something to time, time 0 would be our y-intercept. Okay, so a recording studio charges an initial fee of $50 to record an album, and studio time costs an additional $35 per hour. So when we look at this, that means that when I walk in and I haven't spent any time, I have to pay $50. And then after that, I have to pay $35 for every hour that I work. So when you look at what we're charged, when I have 0 hours, I still owe them $50. So if I wanted to translate this into points, I could say that. I could also say, okay, well, this is my starting situation. Either way, I know that that is the y-intercept. And when you see something per something else, this is a rate of change. M is equal to $35 per hour. So as long as X is in hours, this is going to work. Write an equation that gives the total cost of an album as a function of studio time in hours. So Y is equal to my slope, which is $35 per hour, plus the $50 to simply set up the studio, that initial fee of $50. And part B, what is it going to cost if I take 10 hours of studio time? So Y would be equal to 35 times 10 plus 50. Well, 35 times 10 is 350 plus 50. So Y would be equal to $400. So to spend 10 hours of studio time, $400. Pretty cheap studio time, actually. Okay, and I'm sorry, but I went ahead and I worked through all that again. Again, identify the rate of change. You can always find rate of change by finding the item that says this per that. Okay, and then the starting value is what happens, what does it cost me if I have 0 of whatever other thing I'm measuring, in this case hours. $50 even if I don't do anything. Okay, when we talk about the verbal model, it would be the price per hour times the number of hours plus the fee would give me my total. Okay, so I went through all of these steps as I talked you through it on this particular page. And that's it for 4.1.